All right, are you seeing my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Great.
Yes, Rabbi.
All right, here we go. So this is part 4 of our Judaism at home. And of course, the reason we're talking about Judaism at home is because we're all at home. And I thought it was a good collection of themes that the JLI put together, things that are relevant to us as we do our Judaism alone. And there's a lot of stuff that we do. So here we are. So one of the things we're experiencing at home is that time seems to fly, and sometimes, it doesn't really matter what day of the week it is, almost. But in Judaism, it matters very much. Of course, we have to mark Shabbos, which is on the 7th day. But according to some opinions, the observance of Shabbos is done also by counting each and every day, and day number 1, day number 2, and we say a certain psalm that's associated with each day, counting up to Shabbos. That's part of the observance of Shabbos, is actually counting the days. And in Hebrew, it's not Sunday or Monday, it's Yom Rishon, Yom Sheni, day number 1, day number 2, La Shabbos, as we count down to Shabbos. Okay, also, some people can ask the question that Shabbos is a day of rest. Do we have to keep Shabbos if we're not really working that hard? In other words, Shabbos seems to lose its importance as a day of rest. When you work 6 days a week and you're out there, and then Shabbos there's that contrast, and a question might arise as to perhaps Shabbos loses some of its meaning when our work week is kind of different and maybe not so much work. And interestingly, that issue came up when the Jewish people left Egypt. And the Talmud teaches us that they actually kept Shabbos while they were in Egypt. They were given a day of rest, and they observed Shabbos in the way it was observed then. And just as they left Egypt, they were given a commandment of Shabbos. They were formally given the commandment. Now, they had it traditionally from the patriarchs as an unwritten tradition, but they were formally commanded when they were taken out of Egypt to keep Shabbos. And the question is, one of the commentators asked, why the timing? And the answer he gives is that for the same reason, because when they were in Egypt, they were working very hard all week long, and Shabbos was a clear day of rest. One might think, as they entered the wilderness and they were protected in this miraculous way by the clouds of glory, and they didn't need to work. Everything was provided for them. The manna fell from heaven. There was no work there. They needed to have an extra commandment at that time, because Shabbos is not, to make the point, the Shabbos is not just a cessation of work, but there's a lot of spiritual meaning and holiness to it, and that's not affected by what we do the rest of the week.
Rabbi, I have a question about that.
Mm-hmm.
If the determination of the 39 articles of what is considered work on Shabbos was only established after the building of the Mishkan, because those were labors associated, so how did
What
they
kind of Shabbos
keep?
did they keep?
Yes.
Right. So, I mean, that's a broad question, because it's not only as it relates to Shabbos. We're told that the patriarchs put on tefillin, and in the tefillin you have a Torah portion to talk about the exodus of Egypt, which has not happened yet. So, and that's just one example, and yours is another example. The observance of Torah is a spiritual reality, and it's a blueprint for the creation of the world. I mean, it's a long discussion. So the Torah is a truth and a reality which preceded the creation of the world. So and the way to understand that is that all of these stories in the Torah are really, they did happen, but the Torah shares them with us because they're the actualization of spiritual realities. For example, the Exodus from Egypt is this whole idea in the human condition of the need for freedom from ourselves, for freedom from things that constrain us. So the actual story of Exodus is the last step in the evolution of the spiritual reality, which is Pesach. The same as with Shabbos. So the way that we actually observe it, that's the last step in the spiritual kind of iceberg, of meaning. And so the Jewish people were totally tuned into the spiritual reality of what Shabbos is. And the physical observance of it might have been slightly different, just like tefillin. The Talmud teaches us that Yaakov put on tefillin. And he did it in a way, interestingly, this whole story with if you remember, with the sheep with Lavan, his father-in-law's sheep, there were the speckled and the striped sheep, and he had all this kind of very, very esoteric stuff. A part of it was about a tefillin-shaped branch. And the Torah teaches that that's how he did the mitzvah of tefillin. He didn't have leather straps, but he was tuned into the spiritual core of what tefillin is. That's a short answer. And okay. Now, just a couple of points before we get into details. And one is that many people, certainly beginners or people are looking, non-observant people, for example, who don't know much about Shabbos, and they look at it, it seems to be a collection of restrictions. All week long you can do anything, and then Shabbos comes along and a bunch of restrictions come in. And indeed there are many restrictions, things that we can't do. In a general sense, it's the 39 types of labor, but those are divided into thousands and thousands of details of subdivisions of what that is, and there's a lot of complex Torah law on how to keep Shabbos. But even from our own experience, we know that it's very much based on, depending on our attitude, whether we see them as restrictions or not. Just to give a very familiar example, teenagers, for example, restrict their access to their cell phone during dinner time or whatever it is. That is a major restriction, or whatever it is during certain times of days. And some of us see when we have our phones taken away from us, we feel like we're liberated. And it's like it's a moment of calm, and we can think. So it's the same thing, and it is a restriction. Our GPS tells us to make a left turn. That's a restriction of sorts, but it's not a restriction at all, because we know that if you take the left, you're going to get to where you want to go. So it is a restriction, but it's obviously one which we want and we welcome, because it helps us be what we want to be and do what we want to do. And so Shabbos, certainly the restrictions bring us all played together, the whole Shabbos experience. We'll touch on as much of it as we can, is certainly not restrictions for restriction's sake, but all contribute to this incredibly holy and beautiful experience that we know as Shabbos. So the Shabbos part of this course is divided into 2 weeks. This week, we're going to talk about Friday and Friday night. Preparation for Shabbos and how we observe Shabbos on Friday night. And next week we'll go into Shabbos Day, and also some of the technical laws we'll touch about broadly on the things that we do on Shabbos. So let's see here. Okay, there are, let's see, okay, so on our screen, okay. All right, preparing for Shabbos. So Shabbos observance is on Shabbos. Why is it important to prepare? Because three basic categories of reasons. One is that we know that we're forbidden to do malacha, to do types of labor. And that precludes us from doing certain things on Shabbos and requires us to prepare before Shabbos, such as cooking, as an example, or setting the air conditioner, all kinds of things that we need on Shabbos, but we're not able to do. That requires us to prepare. There's also the requirement on Shabbos to have oneg. Oneg Shabbos, to have pleasure on Shabbos, is a mitzvah, and in order to have pleasure on Shabbos, we observe that mostly by preparing special foods for Shabbos, and some preparation can be done on Shabbos, but most of the major preparations have to be done before Shabbos. And lastly, there's the idea of kavod, that there's a mitzvah to honor Shabbos, to show Shabbos, to do things that that show where Shabbos is viewed as a queen, that we're welcoming a guest into our lives, and to show respect, there are certain preparations that we have to make to our homes, to ourselves, the way we get dressed, the way we prepare our homes, and those things have to be done before Shabbos so that when Shabbos arrives, everything is set. So there's a whole host of things that really so Shabbos preparation has to begin very much on Friday. Also, on the last point on kavod and honoring Shabbos, those things, it's very important to personally participate. Even if during the week we have maybe somebody else taking care of the domestic chores and things, preparing for Shabbos is something which is a mitzvah to participate in ourselves, to actually roll up our sleeves and do something, and that shows that we honor it and we don't just have it taken care of. It's not just about having things taken care of, preparation for Shabbos, but actual involvement ourselves. And I'm going to bring up a text from the Talmud, which shows different stories of how people.
Who else is trying to get into it? He's in the waiting room.
Oh, he's in the waiting room. Okay. Let me get him in here. We had somebody. Oh. Yeah, it's done. Sorry about that. Welcome, Vivian and Menachem. Are you there? I see you're connected, but I don't see you.
Because you don't have the video. He said he see you connected, but he can't see you.
Right, Menachem. There you are. Okay, or at least that's your image, but it's good. You're there. And Vivian, we don't see you, but welcome.
Hi.
It's
Talking to
it's
you.
Starting.
He's
Oh.
talking to you.
Oh, thank you, Rabbi.
Hello. Do you see me?
Yes, I
Okay.
do.
Welcome.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Welcome on board. I'm glad you made it. You're not just going to see a recording.
No. Thank you so much.
Yep. Okay, so we started just a little bit, and maybe I'll briefly recap. This is a two parts about Shabbos, this week and next week. Today we're going to be talking about preparation for Shabbos, mostly about what we do on Friday, and not just Friday night, but beginning Friday morning as we prepare for Shabbos, and going into Friday night, the different observances that we have. And just briefly, we talked about three basic reasons why there's a need for preparation for Shabbos. In other words, Shabbos begins on Friday night at sundown. Why don't you just start observing it then? What's the prep necessary for? So three categories we talked about was because there is a prohibition of labors, specific labors that are forbidden on Shabbos. And therefore, things like setting the air conditioning or cooking, things like that cannot be done on Shabbos. We have to get ready and get all of that stuff done before shopping and things like that. There's also the oneg, pleasure, that we have to have on Shabbos. So the minute Shabbos comes in, we have to have ready prepared foods, special foods that are ready also have to be prepared before. And also in honoring the Shabbos, there are a whole host of laws which we'll review that we do in order to show the honor. We're welcoming the Shabbos queen, a special guest, and so we want to put our house in order, the table, the way that we're dressed, and as if we're really welcoming. We have to imagine ourselves welcoming a special guest, one that's special to us. How much more so when we're welcoming the Shabbos. Okay.
Yes. That's what he was saying.
Well, I'm going to bring up this text. Let's see where I have it here. Do you see this text number 1 on your screen?
Yes.
Does it say text number 1? No. Here.
No. Text 1, yeah.
Text 1. Okay. This is a text from Tractate Shabbat, and it reads, Rabbi used to the stories about the sages of the Talmud, used to sit on an ivory stool and fan the fire to cook for Shabbat himself, not an attendant. Rav Anan would put on a black smock while he prepared for Shabbat. We're talking about great sages who certainly had people who can do these things for them, but they made a point of doing it themselves. That's what the Talmud teaches us. Rav Safra would singe the head of an animal for the Shabbat meal. Not sure what that's about. Rava salted shibuta, fish, for the Shabbos meal. It was called shibuta. I guess it's a play off on the word Shabbat, shibuta. Rab Huna would light lamps in honor of Shabbat. So many people have the custom, even we'll talk about this a little later about candle lighting, that a husband gets involved in preparing the candle lights, to have a personal involvement in the mitzvah. Rav Papa plated the wicks for the lamps. Rav Chizda cut up the beetroots. Rabbi and Rav Yosef chopped wood. Rav Zeder kindled the fire. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak carried items into his home and removed items from his home, saying, if Rav Ami and Rav Asi visited me, would I not carry things in their honor? So how much more so to honor the Shabbos? Okay. Back here. Okay, so the primary day of Shabbos preparation is Friday. On this day, it's more apparent that our activity is exclusively for Shabbos. Interestingly, I'm sure many of you know that in Israel, Friday is like the American Sunday. Isn't that right? I think in Israel, Friday is the day off, which for Jews is very convenient because you can prepare for Shabbos. And Sunday is a regular work day. So the Code of Jewish Law states that we should arise early on Friday to prepare what is needed for Shabbos. And we rise early to ensure that there's enough time to complete all the things that need to be done. And also in general, there's a rule that we're doing a mitzvah, we have to do it as soon as possible. That's one of the reasons. If there's a bris, we do the bris in the morning. As soon as when you have an opportunity to do a mitzvah, you do it early. So here's a text from Rav Yosef Karo, the Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law. One should arise early on Friday to prepare what is needed for Shabbat. Even if you have many servants, find something small to do for your honor, for the honor of Shabbat. We see this with Rav Chizda, who would cut vegetables finely, Rabbi and Rav Yosef, who would chop wood. He's quoting from the Talmud that we just read. We can emulate that. One should not say it is unbecoming of me to do these things, for this is the honor of Shabbat, and that's why we get personally involved. Okay, so there's the let's go through some of the steps here. We shop for items, and in the handout that I mailed to you, there's some sample shopping lists. We prepare Shabbos dishes of choice. Here's a suggested website, Chabad.org. Finding recipes today is not a big deal. Anybody knows how to do that. There's a custom for some to taste Shabbos foods on Friday. The simple reason is just to make sure that it tastes right before Shabbos. But it also is an allusion to, we know that on a larger scale, Shabbos is the days of Mashiach. And we are like on the Friday afternoon before the coming of Mashiach. We're talking about it millennially, thousands of years. So we are at the end of a period just before the coming of Mashiach, and tasting the food of Shabbos is tasting some of the Torah, some of the Torah that we will be taught and exposed to, and the knowledge of God. And that's one of the explanations as to the introduction of Kabbalah and Hasidus in more and more in recent years, because that is kind of a foretaste of this deeper taste of Shabbos, the time of Mashiach. Now, even though it's a custom to taste a little bit of the food of Shabbos, more importantly, or at the same time, we do not eat a full meal. We make sure to come into Shabbos hungry, with an appetite, coming into Shabbos. Okay. Now, it is customary to bake challah on Friday, and when we say the word challah in daily conversation, challah means those challah rolls that you buy in the supermarket or you make. But technically, what the word challah means to in rabbinic literature refers to challah is a small portion when baking any bread, whether a baker or someone at home. So a little portion has to be taken out of the dough and given to a kohen, to a priest. Today we don't have the kohanim for various reasons. We don't have that practice. But we're not allowed to enjoy that little piece of dough also, and it's set aside for holy purposes, and we burn it today. The challah, this little challah dough. So that's technically the term challah, where it comes from. Now I'm going to bring up another text here about challah. And this is from Maimonides, the mitzvah of teruma. Teruma is the tithe that was given to the kohanim, to the priests, So the general mitzvah of teruma, of giving the tithe, teaches us to give away the first of everything for God's purposes. These gifts to the Kohen include giving away a share of our grain, a portion of our freshly made dough, that's challah, our first fruits, and the first sharing from our sheep. In this way, we strengthen our trait of generosity. We curb our desire for food, for the acquisition of property, just for the sake of acquisition. And it gives us a pause, for it is human nature to diligently strive to gain more money, possessions. And it is this desire to add to one's wealth and honor that is the chief source of human destructiveness. So Maimonides states very clearly that all the various mitzvahs of charity and of tithing and of separating and giving right off the top is all to contribute to our attitude and to curb our human nature of desire for food and kind of to put a check on that. Most people today buy their challah from bakeries. Jewish women have traditionally embraced the custom of baking challah loaves for Shabbos. It allows them the opportunity to do the special mitzvah of separating the challah and actually making the bracha. So when you buy it in the store, that's done. If it has a kosher supervision, the mitzvah of challah was already done. And by baking challah at home, we have the opportunity to add that extra blessing. And in general, baking challah, a lot of challah baking going on today. And it's a source of blessings. Many women bake challah together and have in mind people who need blessings, whether for marriage or for children. During the baking of challah, and especially with other women, it's a good time to ask for blessings for people who are in need. In the handout that I emailed you, there is the details of how to actually observe the mitzvah of challah. And it's particularly relevant today, given that so many are needing to relax, okay. And so if we need to relax, you need some challah. That helps. Nobody got it. Okay. Onward. Okay. There are other preparations for Shabbos that are mentioned in Jewish law, and I'm going to bring them up here. 1 second. Okay. This is from Rabbi Shlomo Ganzfried, the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. Kitzur Shulchan Aruch is an abbreviated code of Jewish law. Rabbi Shlomo Ganzfried is actually an ancestor, well, not so long ago, maybe great-great-grandfather of our own Rabbi Fried at Chabad. So, a special connection. And he writes that we have to prepare choice meats, fish, and fine wine according to your means. We'll talk about fish and meat in a moment. It is a mitzvah to eat fish at every Shabbos meal if it agrees with you. Specifically fish. Fish is important. However, if it does not agree with you, or if it isn't pleasing to your taste, you should not eat it. For Shabbat was given for enjoyment and not for discomfort. You should sharpen the knives, for this is also included in honoring the Shabbos. I think there's still a knife sharpening truck that goes around on the west side. I've seen it. You should put the house in order, make the beds, and cover the table with a tablecloth. The table should remain covered the entire Shabbat. Some people are meticulous to spread out 2 tablecloths. You should rejoice in the coming of Shabbat. Imagine how you would put the house in order in honor of the arrival of a dear and distinguished person. Well, the more so should you exert yourself in honor of the Shabbos queen. In some places, they make meat pies, also called mulyesa. I don't know what that is. And this is an Ashkenazic rabbi who wrote this, so it's some sort of an Ashkenaz food. In remembrance of the manna, which lay as in a box with dew on the bottom and dew on top. And so there's a special food that recalls the manna, because they would collect on Friday. They wouldn't collect on Shabbos. So on Friday, they would collect a double portion. And on Friday, you should taste the food that was cooked for Shabbos. This is from the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law. Another category, preparations pertaining to personal grooming to ensure that we look our best in honor of Shabbos. We were talking about the home, and here also in text number 5, the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch continues. It is a mitzvah for every, here it's going to get a little interesting. It's a mitzvah for everyone to wash their face, hands, and feet with hot water every Friday. And if possible, wash the whole body with hot water and immerse in the mikveh. That is a custom of Jewish men to immerse in a mikveh on Friday before Shabbos. That's not going on these days, but hopefully it'll resume very quickly. It is a mitzvah to wash your hair, to cut your nails, and to have your hair cut if it is too long. However, you shouldn't, and here it gets into details with cutting our toenails. However, you should not cut your fingernails and toenails on the same day. That's number 1. I'm not sure why these laws, I don't know the reason behind them, but they're Talmudic. They're sourced in the Talmud of these particular customs in cutting our nails. So, not to cut our toenails and fingernails on the same day. You should not cut your nails or your hair on Rosh Chodesh, the first day of the month, even if it occurs on Friday. So if it occurs on Friday, you figure that you do those things in preparation of Shabbos. No, you don't do that. Some are particular not to cut their nails in consecutive order, but to alternate. In other words, not to cut the 5 fingers in order. And these are for Kabbalistic reasons. And I'm just gonna, you'll find it in your handout. Some are also particular not to cut their nails on Thursday, because they will then start growing on Shabbos, which is the 3rd day, and that somehow that's not respectful for the Shabbos. And it is proper to take care to burn your nails after they are cut. These are customs, to be very honest with you. I remember when I was in yeshiva, before I was married, there were some of the boys who were very meticulous in this stuff. I have to admit that I was not. In the order of cutting the nails, the burning of the nails is given as an example of caring about other people, because the Talmud says that a pregnant woman should avoid stepping on cuttings of fingernails. And so when a person cuts their nails, they have to be very, very particular that they don't just get left lying around, lest a woman would step on them. And that's why we burn them, as a concern for others. So this stuff can sound a little bit out there, but the Torah gets into nitty gritty with directing our life, and even the most mundane things. You figure cutting the fingernails. What does that have to do with God, with Shabbos, with observance? It has everything. God and Shabbos is not cut out of any part of our life, and it reaches into every. It infuses everything that we do with meaning and godliness. And this is the way that we do that here. Every Friday, the Shulchan Aruch continues. You should examine your deeds, arouse yourself to repent, and make amends for all the misdeeds you did in the 6 days. So Friday is a kind of a little Yom Kippur for the week. It's a day for taking stock of how the week went, because Friday incorporates all the days of the week, just as the day preceding Rosh Chodesh incorporates the whole month, and that is a day for reflection. So for the month, Friday is a day of reflection for the week. You should try to wear fine clothing and also a nice tallis in honor of Shabbos, as it is written, and you shall honor it. And the sages explain this to mean that your Shabbat clothes should not be like your weekly clothes. Even if you are traveling amongst non-Jews who are not celebrating Shabbat, you should wear Shabbos clothes, because the clothes are not for the honor of one's company, but for the honor of Shabbat. This is especially true today, where people are very lazy to get dressed. You know, we're home. What do you have to get dressed for? At least, first of all, it's a good idea to get dressed every day, just to remember that we are, first of all, if we get out, it's a good exercise to go through, to get, fully dressed. But especially for Shabbos, even if we're going to be celebrating alone at home, we're honoring the Shabbos. We are required to dress up. Okay. And now, sometimes when we have guests, we expect guests, we're kind of more motivated and more in, we're more active in Shabbos preparations. And now perhaps that we're not having guests, we can lay back and kind of not infuse any specialness into our Shabbos meal. That's not a good idea.
Another 10 minutes. Thanks, honey.
Um,
Be careful, use a dairy fork to take it out with it. Thanks, honey. Yeah, they didn't have.
Very important. It's very important to mention.
These, so I got these the more fresh baked ones.
Menachem, are you there? Can we mute you there? Are you there?
I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry, Rabbi. Yeah.
I don't think I have you. Okay. Very important to mention that as Friday, especially short Fridays during the winter, and with all these preparations going on, sometimes people get stressed, and sometimes people get angry during these times. There's a teaching from the Shlomo, the great Kabbalist, I think from the probably the 1500s, who took one of the verses about Shabbos and he gave it another spin. It says, "Lo sevaru eish b'yom HaShabbos." Do not light a fire on the day of Shabbos. Which simple meaning is that we're not. That's one of the forms of labor. We're not allowed to light a fire. So the Shlomo taught that the word lo sevar, do not, has the numerical value of 31. And so he taught that on a deeper level, what the verse is saying is that for 31 hours, lo, for the amount of lo, the 36 hours, which is the 25 hours of Shabbos, that's what it comes out to, about 25 hours, plus another 6 hours of preparation on Friday, there should not be a fire burning. In other words, the fire of anger and discord has to be avoided not just on Shabbos, but also preparing for Shabbos. And, we need to ensure that the preparations are conducted in a spirit of love and anticipation rather than anger and discord. Sometimes that's challenging. But if we're mindful of it, and we make a conscious effort, even if we're feeling stressed, not to let that out on anybody, that's very much would be inconsistent with the spirit of Shabbos. Also, so this is, we talked a lot about all the physical preparations for Shabbos, but there are also obviously spiritual preparations that we are encouraged to do. Men, as I mentioned, men immersed in the mikveh as a form of spiritual cleansing. It is desirable to make time on Friday to study the weekly Torah portion. In the fullest sense, that's done by reading the Torah portion twice, each verse twice, and then one time the Aramaic translation. That's called Shnayim Mikra Ve'echad Targum. Twice the Torah, once the translation. And that is a mitzvah to do that on Fridays. That's a little bit long and might not be, for everyone, but certainly some level of review of that week's Torah portion is something that we're supposed to do on Friday. If we can't do it on Friday, then going into Shabbos to review and gain lessons from the Torah portion of that's going to be read that Shabbos. Okay. Now we're going to go into the next step, which is candle lighting. And that is part 3 here. So the Torah records for us when God created the world, the first thing to enter was light. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. So the primordial, beginning was the emergence of light. And to parallel that, we begin Shabbos by the introduction of our own light, which is the lighting of the Shabbos candles. And basically, it transports us from the weekly, the mundane nature of the week, to the deep inner peace of Shabbos. And that's why we light the Shabbos candles. So this kind of evolves historically. At first, there was a time when only some Jews would light candles before Shabbos, which would burn, into Friday night. Other Jews chose to stick it out in darkness because they couldn't extinguish the light. They felt uncomfortable just letting it burn, so they just didn't light it in the first place. And also, there were some people who had the mistaken idea that it was inappropriate, since you're not allowed to light fires on Shabbos, that there's something inappropriate about even having candles burning on Shabbos. So to set all of that straight, our sages instituted that everyone must light Shabbos candles to last into the evening on Friday. That is the mitzvah, and I'm going to see, there's a text. Let's see what the text does for us here. So text number 6, this is from the Rashi commentary on the tractate Shabbat, and where Rashi says, "We kindle light for Shabbat. In a place where there is no lamp, there is no peace. For a person stumbles about and gropes in darkness." So one of the simple reasons that we light, that our sages instituted the lighting of candles is so people shouldn't stumble and be without light. So just for the simple function to make sure that there was light in a home on Friday night. Also, it provides for the pleasurable experience of eating the Shabbos food. It's enhanced because when you can see what you're eating, it's a greater pleasure. And also, it would honor the Shabbos because lighting candles is a form of showing honor. Now, you would think that today, you just flick on the lights and you have light that seems to address everything. But even in a time when they did not have electric lights and they would have other candles burning, the mitzvah was to light a separate candelabra specifically to honor the Shabbos. So yes, it does have these the functions of providing light and allowing us to enjoy our food, and also to honor. But even when we have the electric lights, those purposes still remain. Now that is that's kind of why we light the candles. And now we're going to get into when. And I think Mildred, you wanted to talk about that. So Shabbos, technically, in fact, Shabbos begins at sunset, and it is forbidden to kindle a fire once Shabbos begins. This is why Shabbos candles have to be lit before sunset. So sunset is when the sun dips below the horizon. There's some details to that, but in general, that's what sunset means. And not when the light of the sun is no longer visible, but the actual ball of the sun dips below the horizon. That is when Shabbos begins. But we don't take it to the last minute, light the candles just before Shabbos. One has to light candles. Well, let's do this in the order that they have there. First, it has to be lit before sunset. It can be lit earlier, but not too early. You can't light the candles, say, at noon on Friday. It can't be more than about an hour and a quarter before sundown. No earlier than that can you light Shabbos candles, whenever it is. So today, sundown, say, would be about, say, 8:10 or so. You shouldn't light candles before 7 o'clock. Now, in many communities, the custom is to light the candles 18 minutes before sunset. This is the candle lighting time that we see on our calendars. So the general candle lighting time that is a custom that the Jewish people have accepted is to light candles 18 minutes before sundown. If candles were not lit before this time, they should be lit during the 18 minutes until sunset, but not after sunset. We all know how to find the proper candle lighting time. Okay, so who has to light the Shabbat candles? By the way, in Jerusalem, if you ever spend Shabbos in Jerusalem, they take in Shabbos 40 minutes before sundown. I'm not sure why that is. Anybody have any idea what that is? I'm not sure why, but it's definitely, I've been there, and 40 minutes before Shabbos is candle lighting. Okay. So the mitzvah of lighting the Shabbos candles, when it was instituted, applies to both men and women. However, if there is a woman over the age of bas mitzvah in the home, she lights the candles for the household. So the obligation is for everyone, the men and the women, but if one person lights it in the household, everybody fulfills their obligation. And the custom is that it is the woman of the house who does this particular mitzvah. If a man is living alone, he should light the candles. And even when there's a woman in the home, Jewish law encourages the man to actively participate in the mitzvah. For example, he can set up the tray with the candlesticks, That's, by the way, one of the reasons for the custom that before marriage, that the chassan, the bridegroom, buys candlesticks for his kala. That's a pretty prevalent Jewish custom, and that's kind of his participation in her mitzvah. The reasons that are given why this mitzvah kind of ended up as a woman's responsibility. One is because a woman is home and is responsible in most cases for the conduct of the home. So it's appropriate that she does that to illuminate the home. There's also an association with the sin of the tree of knowledge, and it somehow atones for that, for Chava's, for Eve's involvement in that, but that's a whole other discussion. But in general, it is a mitzvah for women to do. Now, there was a custom before the war, and the Lubavitcher Rebbe pointed this out and made a big emphasis on it. The custom was that not only married women light Shabbos candles, but also unmarried women, young girls, and little girls from the age of 3 would light candles. That custom seems to have been abandoned or lost over the course of the war. I'm not sure which war, is it the first or the second, but in Europe, in pre-war Europe, there was definitely the custom for girls also, unmarried women, to light the candles. And the Rebbe wanted very much to bring that back and made a whole campaign to encourage not only women, married women, but the young girls to light the Shabbos candles as well. Now, when a person lights the Shabbos candles, that is a personal acceptance of a Shabbos and can no longer do anything that's forbidden for Shabbos. In other words, for men, Shabbos starts at sundown. There's nothing that they need to do. As soon as it's sundown, that's when Shabbos starts. Women, or if men are lighting, then for them as well, whoever lights the Shabbos candles, Shabbos begins at the moment when they light the candle. That's their acceptance of the Shabbos, and that includes the striking of the match, and that's why the custom is when you have a mother and a daughter, a little girl lighting the Shabbos candles, as long as she needs help, that the little girl lights first so that the mother can assist her in lighting the candles. And then when that's done, she could light herself and accept the Shabbos. She doesn't have to violate the Shabbos to help with her daughter's lighting. Okay. We use wax candles or oil for this mitzvah. I think the Shabbos candles, all the candles that we have today, emit a clean, stable flame and are kosher for lighting. The candles should be long enough to burn until nightfall, and ideally until after Shabbos dinner. Now, the number of candles, the mitzvah can technically be fulfilled by lighting a single candle. However, there are various customs about the number of candles to light. The established custom is for single girls and women to light 1 candle and married women to light at least 2. Many women have the custom of lighting and adding a candle for each child when each child is born, to add candles. There's also, it doesn't mention it here, there is a custom if someone forgets light Shabbat if they are generally observing the lighting of Shabbos candles, and for some reason they forget. They're harried and they're coming home late from work, and they just forget to light Shabbos candles, and Shabbos began. They make up for that by adding a candle going forward. Sometimes you'll see an odd number that doesn't necessarily match up to the number of family members. That can be an indication of something of forgetting to light candles on one occasion. The Shabbos candles are, let's see here. We set them on a metal tray in a location that is out of reach of young children and clear of flammable objects, obviously. But the candles should ideally be visible from the table. In other words, you shouldn't be lighting it in the kitchen and eating in the dining room. They don't necessarily have to be on the actual table where you're at, but within sight of the table that you'll be eating, the candles should be there so that they can enjoy the meal in the glow of the candles. It's customary to light the candles when while dressed in Shabbos clothing. So obviously, if you're fighting against the clock and getting dressed for Shabbos is going to get you close to the time of Shabbos, you just light. And forget about getting dressed up. But ideally, one should dress up, Shabbos clothes, and then light the candles. And it's very important, there's a custom to place some money in a charity box before lighting the Shabbos candles, and you light the candles. And we don't extinguish the match. You lit the candles, you don't put out the match, you just put it down on the metal tray, because technically it's already Shabbos for you. As soon as you lit the candles, you accepted Shabbos, you shouldn't extinguish the match. And they even have these little silver trays just for that purpose, to put the lit match on it so that it just burns out on this tray. We're reviewing this. I'm sure that the women here are quite familiar, certainly more than I am, of how exactly it's done. But we circle our hands over the flames and toward ourselves 3 times. Cover your eyes with your hands and recite the blessing, lighting the candles. The different brachas on Shabbos, there's a blessing. Yom Tov. Just a point of law here. Usually, we make blessings on things before we observe it. For example, we're about to hear the Megillah. You make the bracha, thank you, we bless Hashem, thanking him for giving us the mitzvah of hearing the Megillah, then we read the Megillah. We're about to blow the shofar, we make the bracha, and then we blow the shofar. All mitzvah brachas are made before the observance of that mitzvah, except for lighting Shabbos candles. Because if you're going to make the bracha before you light the Shabbos candles, you already began the process of accepting Shabbos. You made a bracha, the Hadlik Ner Shel Shabbos Kodesh. If it's Shabbos already, then you can't light the candles. So to address that, first thing we do is we light the candles. And then by covering our eyes, when we make the bracha, so we make the bracha, and then when we uncover our eyes, that's as if, in a small way, we're making the bracha before we're lighting. So in order to address the not taking in Shabbos before we light, we actually light the candles first, and then when we cover our eyes and make the bracha, and then open our eyes, it's similar to making the bracha before lighting. It's just a technicality. And while the eyes are covered, it's a good time to pray for whatever our needs are. And when we open our eyes, we say Good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom to all who are present. That's the mitzvah. Now we're going to go into Kabbalah Shabbos. And so, oops, 1 second. Okay. So there's so much stuff to cover, and I think we're gonna run out of time. I want to share just one thing from Kabbalah Shabbos. The material here is very long, and there's a lot of good stuff here, but I want to jump right to Shalom Aleichem. So we do the Kabbalah Shabbos. We daven 3 times a day, the morning, afternoon, and evening prayer. On Friday, before we get to the evening prayer, we say Kabbalah Shabbos. We say some psalms with a lot of significance as a preparation for Ma'ariv, welcoming the Shabbos. We say 7 psalms corresponding to the 7 days of the week. And before we say the 7th one, corresponding to Shabbos, we say L'Chadodi, which is a poem composed by one of the Kabbalists in the 1500s in Tzfat. Very beautiful poem, which we're all familiar with, L'Chadodi. Before Kiddush, upon coming home, we sing this song, Shalom Aleichem. So a couple of points about it. One thing which I did not know, that the familiar tune for Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, which seems to have been there forever, was composed in 1918 by American composer and conductor Rabbi Israel Goldfarb, who was a graduate of Jewish Theological Seminary, no less.
Oh, I don't believe it.
And rabbi of the Kane Street Synagogue in New York. I don't know where that is.
Brooklyn.
It's
in Brooklyn.
It's in Brooklyn?
Yep.
Okay, so New York, I guess New York City. And that is the source of the song for Shalom Aleichem. I'm just going to tell a story of a father and son that went to see the Lubavitcher Rebbe for Yechidus. This was in the early 60s. And the name is, let's see who it was this. This was a person by the name of Yonason Wiener, who is 9 years old, in 1962, when his father took him in for a personal audience with the Rebbe. Father finished his conversation with the Rebbe, and then he turned to his son. He said, Yonason, do you have something to ask the Rebbe while we're here? And he was not bashful, and he had a question. And the question that he asked the Rebbe was the following. And it's a question that we should all ask, and I'm going to bring it up here on the screen. So here's the siddur, and I'm going to scroll through the Friday night davening and come to this L'Chadodi and come to Shalom Aleichem. Get to that here a second. Okay, here we go. Shalom Aleichem, right? Now, let's look at this for a moment. Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem means greetings. Malachi Hasharis, ministering angels. Malachi Elyon. Let me take it to the English. Peace unto you, ministering angels, messengers of the Most High. Okay, that's stanza number 1. Next you say, it says, may your coming be in peace, angels of peace. So in the first stanza it says, peace unto you, ministering angels. And here it says, may your coming be in peace, angels of peace. Not ministering angels, not Malachi Hashares, Malachi Hashalom, angels of peace. So the little Yonason asked the Rebbe, and from then on, all of them are angels of peace. Bless me with peace, angels of peace. may your departure be in peace, angels of peace. So his question was, why is it in the first stanza where we say, peace unto you, we say ministering angels, and the remaining three, we say, we call them angels of peace. And also, what's the difference between the first two stanzas seem to be repeating themselves. One is peace unto you, ministering angels, and this is referring to the angels that come and greet and help a Jew greet the Shabbos, because there's many reasons that are given for it, because there's an extra neshama that enters and an extra spiritual sensitivity that enters us as Shabbos begins, and the angels help us and kind of support us as we greet the Shabbos. So when Shabbos comes in, there are angels there. But the first two stanzas seem to be saying the same thing in different words. Shalom Aleichem. And the other one says, Boyachem l'shalom. One means peace unto you, Shalom Aleichem. The other one's Boyachem l'shalom, may your coming be in peace. It seems to be welcoming the angels twice. And in the first one, it's ministering angels. In the second one, and the remaining ones, it's angels of peace. Very good question. By the way, we're not sure what the origins of this song of the words are. I mean, the song, I said, it's that guy from the Kane Street Shul. So the Rebbe said as follows, and he describes this person in his recollection of this audience with the Rebbe. The Rebbe looked at him, and it was already getting to the early hours of the morning, and the Rebbe had seen many, many people, but gave him his entire attention, and looked at him, and he said that the first stanza is referring to ministering angels, and the ministering angels means angels that work, that minister, and they are associated with the days of the week. And the Shalom Aleichem, that opening where we say peace unto you, as we know that shalom in Hebrew could mean hello, and it also means goodbye. So Shalom Aleichem, generally we understand is to mean hello, but it also means peace unto you as you go away. So the Rebbe explained that the first stanza here is really saying farewell to the weekday angels, to the ministering angels. And what we're saying is peace unto you, ministering angels, messengers of the Most High, and escorting them out. The next one is talking about Shabbos angels that are coming. And there we say, may your coming be in peace, angels of peace. So the Rebbe gave him such a good answer that it's talking about two different sets of angels. The first one is the weekday angels, and we're saying goodbye to them. Shalom Aleichem. And from that point on, we are welcoming the Shabbat angels who are helping the Jew go ahead with Shabbos. And I'm really sorry. I don't want to go on and on. There's so much stuff here to share, but I think we should stop, because otherwise it just goes for too long. See if there's any last. Well, I want to share one last quick story. We all remember the tragic the Columbia Space Shuttle, where Ilan Ramon was up there, and they say that he wrote in his journal, he transcribed the text of Kiddush, because he knew that he was going to be in the shuttle, space shuttle, over on Friday, on Shabbat Eve, and he wanted to say Kiddush up in space, and he probably did. But as we know, that tragically the space shuttle exploded, and they found actually intact, after burning up and coming into the atmosphere, and the fall, and the sitting in and the falling into the ocean, all of the different things, which something for survive is most unlikely, that this page from the journal of Kiddush survived. So I guess there's a message there. So may his memory be a blessing. Ilan Ramon made a Kiddush Hashem, sanctified Hashem's name with mentioning Shabbos and observing Shabbos in his way. And I'll leave it at that, everyone. And hopefully next week we'll have our final session. We'll talk more about Shabbos, get into some of the other details, and we'll say goodbye. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi.
It's hard, you know. It'll be much warmer to be sitting around the table and talking. I feel like I'm kind of talking to a machine here when I'm really talking to people, and so I miss that you know, energy, that dynamic. But we do the best we can.
Yes.
So everybody have a wonderful.
Maybe you could send us some favorite recipes from Rebbitzin, Rivki.
You know, okay, let's see. I'm going to ask her. She's got recipes all over the place.
Cool. All right. Thank you again, everybody. Have a good Shabbos.
Good job.
See
You
you
well,
again.
everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.